right, children, would you like to hear a story about my childhood?
Not really.
Okay, let's start. Once upon a time, there was a dear little girl who was loved by everyone who looked at her, but most of all, by her grandmother. And there was nothing that she would not have given to the child. Once, she gave her a little cap of red velvet, which suited her so well that she would never wear anything else. So, she was always called Little Red Riding Hood. One day, her mother said to her,
"Come, Little Red, I've made some bread, and here's a bottle of wine I brought from the market. Take it to your grandmother. She is very ill and cannot get out of bed. Once you get there, make sure not to peep into any corners, and on your way there, make sure not to get off the path, because if you do, you will fall and you could break the wine bottle."
"I will take great care,"
said Little Red Riding Hood to her mother, and gave her hand on it. The grandmother lived out in the wood, half a league from the village. And just as Little Red Riding Hood entered the wood, a wolf met her. Little Red Riding Hood did not know what a wicked creature he was, and was not at all afraid of him.
Good day, Little Red Riding Hood.
"Well, hello, Wolf.
Whither away so early?
I'm going to my grandmother's house. She's sick."
And what do you have in your apron?
"Oh, some cake and wine. Yesterday was baking day, and Mother sent me these to bring to my grandma.
And where does your grandmother live?
About half a league up the hill, right under the great old nut tree. You must know."
The wolf thought to himself,
What a tender young creature. I must act craftily and as to catch them both.
so he walked for a short time by the side of Little Red Riding Hood. Then he said,
Look at these awesome, beautiful flowers. I'm sure your grandma would love these. You walk so gravely along your path as if you were walking to school.
So she looked up, and she thought,
Perhaps grandmother would love a fresh nosegay. I mustn't go off the trail that much. I will do so, and no harm will be done."
and so she ran from the path into the wood to look for flowers. And whenever she had picked one, she fancied that she saw a still prettier one further on, and ran after it, and so got deeper and deeper into the woods. Meanwhile, the wolf ran straight to the grandmother's house and knocked at the door.
Who's there?
Little Red Riding Hood, I'm bringing cake and wine.
Lift the latch. I am too weak and cannot get up.
The wolf lifted the latch. The door sprang open, and without saying a word, he went straight to the grandmother's bed and devoured her. Then he put on her clothes, and he sat in her rocker. Little Red Riding Hood, however, had been running about picking flowers, and when she had gathered so many that she could carry no more, she remembered her grandmother and set out on her way. She was surprised to find the cottage door standing open, and when she went into the room, she had such a strange feeling that she said to herself,
"Oh, how uneasy I feel."
she called out,
"Grandmother?"
but received no answer. So she went to the bed and drew back the curtains. There sat her grandmother in the rocker, looking very strange.
"Oh, grandmother, what big ears you have."
The better to hear you with, my dear.
"Oh, but grandmother, what big eyes you have."
The better to see you with, my dear.
"Oh, but grandmother, what awful big hands you have."
The better to hug you with, my dear.
"Oh, but grandmother, what a big mouth you have."
The better to eat you with.
And scarcely had the wolf said this, than with one bound he was out of the bed and swallowed up Little Red Riding Hood in one bite. When the wolf had appeased his appetite, he lay down back in the rocker and fell asleep and began to snore very loud. A huntsman was just passing the house and thought to himself,
"Oh, how the old woman is snoring. I must see if she wants anything."
so he went into the room, and when he came to the rocker, he saw that the wolf was lying in it.
"I find you here, you little sinner. I have long sought you."
Then, just as he was going to fire, it occurred to him that the wolf might have devoured the grandmother, and that she still might be saved. So he didn't fire, but took a pair of scissors and began to cut it open, and when he made 2 more snips, he saw the Little Red Riding Hood shining. And then he made 2 more snips, and the little girl sprang out crying.
It was so dark in there. I was so scared.
And after that, the aged grandmother came out alive as well, but scarcely able to breathe. Little Red Riding Hood, however, quickly fetched great stones with which to fill the wolf's belly. And when he awoke, he wanted to run away, but the stones were so heavy that he collapsed at once and fell dead. Then all three were delighted. The huntsman drew off the wolf's skin and went home with it. The grandmother ate the cake and drank the wine which Little Red Riding Hood had brought, and revived. But Little Red Riding Hood thought to herself,
Oh, this could terribly happen again. I must always listen to Mother and never go off the path no matter what.
it is also related that once when Little Red Riding Hood was again taking cakes to her old grandmother, another wolf spoke to her and tried to entice her from the path. Little Red Riding Hood, however, was on her guard and went straight forward on her way and said to her grandmother,
Oh, grandmother, I met another wolf today. He was far scarier, and I'm far frightened than the last one.
We will lock the doors so he may not get in.
Soon afterwards, the wolf knocked and cried.
Open up, grandmother. It's me, Little Red Riding Hood. I bring you some cakes.
But they did not speak or open the door, so the graybeard stole twice or thrice round the house, and at last jumped on the roof, intending to wait until Little Red Riding Hood went home in the evening, and then to steal after her and devour her in the darkness. But the grandmother saw that this was in his thoughts. In front of the house was a great stone trough, so she said to Little Red Riding Hood,
Take the pail, Little Red. I made some sausage yesterday, and that's the water I boiled it in. Take it to the trough.
Little Red Riding Hood carried the water into the great trough was quite full. Then the smell of sausages reached the wolf, and he sniffed and peeped down, and at last stretched out his neck so far that he could no longer keep his footing, and began to slip. He slipped down from the roof, straight into the great trough, and was drowned, and no one bothered Little Red Riding Hood ever again.
There she goes again, talking to the stuffed animals. I'll go get the doctor.
What? These are my grandchildren! My grandchildren! Fancy.
I know it's pretty fake world. I was like, look at it. This is so realistic. No, it's not. I thought it was. And I'm like, oh.
And playing Old Little Red Riding Hood, we have Lexi. Playing the mother, nurse, and grandma, we have Yatzairy.
Yeah.
Playing the huntsman and the second wolf, we have Emily. Playing the first wolf, we have Axel. Our director, Lewis. And assistant director, Lexi. And last but certainly not least, standing in for Little Red Riding Hood, we have Sammy.